In 2 cases, in fact, I've heard through rumors, not yet confirmed, that 2 former BNP cabinet ministers were taxi drivers in New York. However, a significant number stay with it as a career, one that provides the stability of a career while, like many occupations, providing enough support so that to a family support a family so that the next generation, the children, will have a better future. The dividing marker, from what I've heard in my interviews and other fieldwork, is marriage. If a driver gets married, this pattern, by the way, from all that I have seen thus far, is specific to Bangladeshis. Many Pakistanis aspire to save enough to buy their own drivers if they have heard of Bangladeshi drivers moving into the limousine industry. They're not. If they leave for something completely different. The source of their income, while they devote their intellectual energies to the arts. There are a number of musicians in the Bangladeshi community, including one driver. The Bangladeshi driver community is especially well organized. These groups meet regularly. For example, one group meets for lunch every Saturday in the Astoria, Queens neighborhood and acts as a fraternal organization in an industry that has no union. They are also affiliated with a Bengali language drama club that produces original plays in Bangla in New York. The director of the organization, as well as at least one of the playwrights, are also drivers. And this is where I have some photos. So this is New York's answer to the Bangla Academy Book Fair, and I met several drivers. Not exactly the same as outside here. The only Bangladeshi neighborhood in New York by any means. It's one of the larger ones. Many Bangladeshis from other parts of the city, so you can have a sense of how many thousands of people there are and what kind of cultural life there is in the community. Very quickly, a bit of a role reversal here with the drivers serving their wives. Part of the musical performance, this is the man I was talking about who is the director of the Drama Society and remains of the tea bags. Music, when I started attending the picnic about 10 years ago, there was only traditional music, folk music, Tagore songs and the like. Now this woman was singing this year with a synthesizer. And while they were playing drum, for some of she was not singing to live drum accompaniment, she was only singing to pop songs to a synthesizer accompaniment. There's typically a soccer game. I went to one picnic a few years ago where the teams were divided between day shift and night shift. At this picnic, the teams were divided between current drivers and former drivers and friends. I forget which group is which. I think these are the drivers. Also games for the wives and children. And dessert. Okay. And I'm going to wrap up. There have also been taxi columns in several of New York's Bengali language newspapers. One driver that I interviewed 10 years ago was a journalist here in Bangladesh. He sought and received political asylum in the U.S. about 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, which is highly unusual. And he has since returned to Bangladesh into journalism. I'm seeking him out now. I understand I can find him through the Dhaka Press Club. He had written, he told me, enough columns in Bangla to publish a book on taxis from the driver's perspective. But after a feud with his editor, he quit his job and didn't keep copies of his clippings. So I have yet to discover an English language Bangladeshi edition to the very narrow literary subgenre of taxi driver memoirs. But if I can find him again at the Dhaka Press Club, I'm going to try to twist his arm. What will emerge from this project when it is done, I believe, will be a driver's eye view, not just of New York, but more significantly, a native discourse on transnational migration and the downward push in social class for those who aspired to come to America. with nonetheless the hope that the children's lives will be more secure than had they remained here in Bangladesh. Again, as far as I know, the only driver to have returned to Bangladesh permanently and voluntarily was a political asylee, not a permanent immigrant. The ride is indeed a long one, not just geographically across continents, but a complex ride up and down.
Folklore in global context.
Good morning. Honorable Chairperson, paper presenters, honorable foreign delegates, especially my teacher, Professor Henry Glassi and Professor Jawaharlal Nehru, and folklorists from context. A decade into the 21st century, we cannot help but wonder how technology has redefined people's lives and their ways of living. On the eve of the new millennia, it was the internet that took people by the storm. Within a decade, information technology has advanced in leaps to form holistic integration with user-friendly gadgets like mobile phones. Smartphones and third-generation network are the result, which brought the world to the palm of one's hand. It would be unwise not to impress upon the fact that these changes have significantly affected our perspectives of how we view the past and the memoirs we preserve from it. These memoirs can assume many forms: a ritual, a tradition, a celebration, a cultural symbol. Some of them date as far back as the time of our forefathers, but today still they have taken up great space in our contemporary life. However, force of changes have given them new shape and form. The challenge for the custodian of culture is to battle and defeat those of the forces which are destructive. It will neither be possible nor wise to try to stop the wheels of change, but maybe we can try to work out a middle ground that allows the coexistence or even a cooperation between change and tradition. One of the major changes in attitude to folk culture is that it cannot be totally eliminated but can be distorted and deformed infinitely. This realization has resulted in the revival of interest in folk culture and folklore at the present day. When we grieve about certain adverse consequences that have befallen our beloved folk heritage of Bangladesh, the influence of media comes to mind as one of the foremost reasons. Under these influences, the age-old forms, rituals, practices of the common country people are being severed from their roots and reenacted careless by certain pretenders who are not only blind followers of foreign cultures but also regard them as superior to their own. Consequently, they tend to mercilessly impose on their native folk culture the latest fashion in the market. They cannot even comprehend that transplantation of culture is a miscalculated fantasy which, instead of doing good, does in fact great harm to the adopting culture. Take the following example for instance. The Baul song is a traditional form of folk music of Bengal. It is confined to a small spiritual community of devotees of all religious affiliation. They sing devotional songs in a special mood whose deep spiritual meaning only they can understand and communicate among themselves in seances. Their songs, rich in meaning, are a means of transferring their folk wisdom from one to another. But when sung by an outside city slicker, these songs in a small group, as said by American folklorist Van Amos in the article Towards the Definition of Folklore, baul songs fail to do these functions when they are treated as a mere country. In Swedish pioneer folklorist von Sydow's term, the bauls that live and sing in a community are the authentic active tradition bearers of baul songs, while the pop bauls or fakes are only passively carry on the tradition. To great poets of the land of Bengal have extensively assimilated baul elements into their writings to profound enrichment of our literature and culture. Even during our liberation war, the heritage of baul songs played a significant role in inspiring our sense of patriotism and arousing our nationalistic spirit that led us in the struggle of freedom. If we look at the adverse influence of audiovisual sky culture over the past 2 decades, we can very well notice a major change in our contemporary ways of living, such as dresses, food habits, entertainment, and overall lifestyle. It compared to the generation of our forefathers, the current generation has been quite detached from our traditional culture. In the race for achieving self-imposed goals, individuals have become self-centered and narcissistic. Simple, wholesome pleasure of community life have been gradually replaced by short-lived audiovisual entertainment. The American leading figure in news journalism, Tom Wolfe, designated this change as a decay of public value. The effect of these changes can be noticed in today's youth, who are becoming increasingly self-centered and ignorant of their cultural roots. Mother tongue, the biggest treasure trove of our culture, is being carelessly distorted at whim in order to cater to the latest fad. For instance, Bangla sentence in our spoken form can hardly finish without injecting a few English or sometimes Hindi words in between, a trait which is disdainfully common among the urban populace. This tendency is not only confined to the limits of urban areas, it is also becoming prevalent in our country populace. Those who are concerned with the preservation and continuity of our cultural heritage say that the satellite media is at the moment engaged in cultural colonialization all over the world. They are casting their nets over countries of the third world, such as those in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. There are two sides of this strategy. On the surface, it looks little more than business, but deep down, another political objective is being achieved: the expansion of cultural territory. It is this last reason for which our folklorists are showing concern, because as a consequence of this expansion, our timeless heritage would be permanently erased in the long run. Since we have been suffering from the unwelcome aggression of media, the question often asked is, should we close our window to the sky media and modern technology? No, of course not. Instead of stopping the media development, we should take advantage of the media facilities to preserve our cultural heritage and share it with the rest of the world. This two-way sharing will not only pass on knowledge to future generations, but would enable them to acknowledge and respect the uniqueness of our culture all over the world. Modern technologies can help disseminate our folk culture across the world by way of the internet and advanced mobile network. We can place our century-old visual oral arts on websites so that our cultural treasures can be accessible to the rest of the world. The collective wisdom or learning of the folk, as British writer W.Z. Toms understood by the word folklore, is no longer a matter of absolute purity, because the cultural territories no longer exist in the strict sense of the term under the impact of cultural globalization. American folklorist Alan Dundes suggested that it is wrong to regard. It is important to remember that our genuine tradition bearers live in the countryside and hence have the urban cultural centers. We can record the lifestyle and work of bows and others in the world. These initiatives could be economically sustainable for them as well as students related to the folklore. At present, folklore studies are mainly compendium use of folklore would make our folk culture much oriented. It would be with our cultural origin and spread our cultural phenomena across political and undergoing change and alteration like any living entity. Any item of folklore can change in line with social and cultural changes and even have a natural death or total extinction, its uniqueness with the rest of the world. In the face of this global cultural manifestation, it is imperative that the identity of our indigenous cultural heritage be preserved so that we can measure our departure from our ancient roots in course of time. To be sure, we welcome the change, but not at the expense of the wealth of our long-lasting tradition and heritage. Thank you very much for listening.
We have next the talk of Professor Sandra Chowdhury, who's going to talk about the effects of globalization on Bangladesh folklore in two contexts.
Learn, discussant, towering folklorists from abroad, including Professor Henry, Professor Andrew, and so forth, so on. Ladies and gentlemen, to avoid academic fatigue, just I am presenting some pieces of my paper. The title of my paper is Effects on Globalization on Bangladesh Folklore, Two Contexts. Various countries of the third world are experiencing unavoidable effects of globalization. It brings rapid changes in their social, economic, educational, and cultural aspects. Their long cherished traditions and values are also changing. Bangladesh is not an exception to this scenario. Enormous advancement of social, of science and technology has changed the taste and demand of our people. It can be realized from the historic observation of folk elements in Bangladesh. With this end in view, the present condition of our traditional song, Gambhira song, popular folk song, and terracotta peasants, traditional folk art of Bangladesh have been introduced in this small paper to explain the context following the trends of history chronologically. It narrates how Gambhira becomes secular song, shaking off its religious aspects, and what changes have taken place in making terracotta images with passage of time. It also describes how these have created demand now at home and abroad. I'd like to discuss about the Gambhira song and terracotta materials, which are traditionally considered two important elements of Bangladesh folklore. Gambhira is a rich strain of Bangladesh folk song. Originally, these songs were singing in praising Lord Shiva. You know, there are three principal deities in Hinduism: Creator, Brahma, the preceptor Vishnu, and the destroyer Shiva or Mahadeva, etc. Hence, we can say these songs are praising songs of Lord Shiva. Basically, these songs have come the people from Malda region in India. This region was included in ancient Gaur, a historical division. During the Muslim rule in the medieval age, the Muslim rulers established their capital in Gaur. Reasonably, they developed a close communication with the Persians. A large number of architects, masons, soldiers, skilled and unskilled laborers came with the rulers and settled there. These new human habitations started living here permanently and built a compact society. In course of time, the culture of these countries started getting mixed with that of Persia, especially in the field of folk drama. We notice the influence of that dramatic trend in the Gambhira local songs. For this reason, Gambhira songs which were sung in this district of Malda flourished, especially at the Muslim patronage towards the end of the medieval age. In 1947, the district of Malda was divided into two parts. The adjacent part was included to Chapai-Nawabganj region in present Bangladesh, and their patronages also migrated to this region. As a result, Gambhira songs which were originated in Malda lost their root and began flourishing with new spirits in Chapai-Nawabganj. Because of this relocation, Gambhira songs achieved new degree of transformation, especially in the variety of subjects and themes. Recently, the Gambhira songs introduce various problems of the contemporary society and also give us the hints how those problems can be solved. These songs have dialogues and chorus rhythms. In the gap of dialogues, the chorus rhythms are sung. Usually, the dialogues are made between maternal grandfather and his grandson. While serving this song, they talk, dance, sing, and make wears lungi, a kind of drapery, mathar, banyan, a half pant, and a napkin at the waist. Grandfather, instead of Lord Shiva, who is an ordinary human being, who will say here, has the relation with religion. How can I sing, O Shiva, climbed every tree and found all new leaves are evil? After transformation, Shubhedwar Bhola Nana, that is Bhola grandfather, you cannot save your honor. Me to dinner, Bhola Nana is not it. Here is another song in which many real incidences of life have taken place in these themes of Gambhira song. For example, I am citing an example. If you have two children, you will get a streak of happiness. They will and make your family happier than others. Keeping pack with these ways, you will find happiness. Terracotta toys, as I have noticed are here. I will confine my lecture, my papers, I will complete my paper in the scheduled time, and I have one living PowerPoint I will show at the back end of my paper. Dolls are used as toys, they are considered earthly, but if they are used religious. I am discussing here about terracotta toys. They are made of clay and produce. As a result of excavation at the sites of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, etc., which are the center of ancient, consecutively from Mostangar, oldest site of the country. In addition, we have found a lot of, you can say, important and prominent Buddhist vihara recently. It has been excavated, discovered. Still the excavation work is going on here. You know, the terracotta has two types. One is time-bound, another is timeless. We are getting the second category terracotta toys, which has very close affinity with the Mohenjo-daro Harappan culture's terracotta specimens. Still, the potters of our country, they are yielding such type of terracotta toys. Only half a century ago, potters of Bangladesh were making toys. The community of potters, while making people, have changed their, while making clay utensils, made those toys also. But with the advancement of science and technology, people have changed their taste and demand. Hence, the consumers of these products are now fascinated to modernity. You know, these are the fragile product, because now they are getting pots and potteries from, you can say, different materials like aluminium, so forth, so on. For this reason, they have changed. We are getting their changing of tastes. They are eager and attracted to watch utensils and toys made of long-lasting, smooth, glassy, and light metals like aluminium, plastic, etc. In lieu of purchasing those of age old terracotta utensils and toys, they feel no interest to think of their tradition in this regard. For this reason, the terracotta toys made by the potters are going to the oblivion. Most of the potters have changed their traditional trade as they do not have the demand of their product. About 80% of the potters living in the northern region of Bangladesh have left their trade of pottery. They have left not only their traditional trade but also their residences. They have gone elsewhere to search new trades for their livelihood. Some of their children are getting educated and entering into new trades and occupation, which are absolutely different to those of their ancestors. Only a few potters living in Rail Bazar and Rail Bazar and Dhamra in Dhaka are trying hard to carry on the traditional trade of pottery in Bangladesh. The tradition of terracotta artists living in Dhaka is more than 200 years old. About 750 of those families once lived there. Now only a few families are living here, cherishing the old tradition of their terracotta or pottery culture. They are making not only terracotta toys nowadays, but also colorful flower-based ashtray, icon, wall portrait, etc. to keep back with the taste and demand of the modern days. Thus they have established an amazing linkage with their beloved tradition, as well as added a new trend in the terracotta art. Through their innovative effort, I'd like to mention some of their names: Moranchat Pal, Lalchat Pal, Amulachan Pal, so forth, so on. Some of the popular and colorful terracotta toys which Moranchat Pal has made are mother with baby toys, elephant horses, bicycles, cycle riders, peacock, elephant, kangaroo potters, horses with wheels, tortoise, monkeys, horses of Bankura, designed as trays, flower-based flower tubes, and glazed potteries. These beautiful products are not only meeting the local demand, but also they are exported to as many as 52 countries of the world, included England, France, Germany, Japan, Australia, and USA. I maybe mentioned here that terracotta toys, flower tubes, and other toys have reasonably demand among those. Saraswati also sugar pots, lamp stands, birds, feeders, and pen stands which are made in these factories. Now I have been translated one song by the eminent lyricist Saidur Rahman Boyati. I have taken this information from Shafiqur Rahman's book. He contributed one book in Bangla, Myth Shilpo, clay culture. Just I will read the translation. What is richer than the soil, my brother? Can't you tell? Taking part only 2 minutes, he will sing this song, which I have been translated from Bengali. May I request? Yes. With his Arki Ache. You sing the song. Thank you.
এ সংসারে যাই আছে মাটির চাইতে কি আছে মাটিতে হয় সারা জাহান পয়দা মাটি থেকে জন্ম নিয়া মাটিতে সব যায় মিশিয়া মাটির মতো খাঁটি আর কি হয় না আমার মনরে মাটির মতো খাঁটি কিছুই হয় না শিশু একাডেমি যাবে মাটির কারবার দেখতে পাবে কত কিছু হিসাব করা বলা যায় না ওরে টিয়া জুতা ময়লা হরেক রকম গহেনা টিরা মোড়া ফল ফুলের বাগান কোনো হিসাবে ধরা যায় না আর কে আছে মাটিতে হয় সারা জাহান পয়দা মাটি থেকে জন্ম নিয়া ওই মাটিতে সব চাই মিশিয়া মাটির মতো খাঁটি কিছুই হয় না তাই রবীন্দ্রনাথ নজরুল গলার মালার কানের দুল আনজাম নারিকেল সাপের আছে ভয় না বাংলা একাডেমি গেলে দেখা যায় দাদা মিয়া হুকাটি থালা গামলা আর বাটি সাইকেলে নির্ণয় করা যায় না আমার মনরে সাইদ বলে নির্ণয় করা যায় না এ সংসারে যাই আছে মাটির চাইতে আর কি আছে মাটিতে হয় সারা জাহান পয়দা মাটি থেকে জন্ম নিয়ে আমরা সব যাব মাটিতে মিশিয়া মাটির মতো খাঁটি জিনিস হয় না জননী জন্মভূমি সব গাজবি করি বসি থ্যাংক ইউ
Center of specimens in this article. Let me hope the useful discussion of the wise discussant will supplement, I hope will supplement my article. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We now have a brief interlude of discussion. We've only got about 15 minutes. We have a paper that's not on the stage. Okay, we are not having discussion, we are having another paper. Good luck. The next session starts at 12:30, so we can run over a little bit, but we do have a problem. I'm sorry that you were not on the program, I was not informed, but please.
Inform everyone, I did make the announcement before that this is Dr. Mustafa Tarek Al-Hassan, who teaches at Rashid University in the Department of Folklor, and his paper is Folklor Research in Bangladesh in the Global Context.
Honorable Chairman, contributors, and distinguished guests, especially the honorable and great folklorists in the audience. Before reading out the paper, I'd like to thank Bangla Academy, especially personally, individually thanks to Samsudjaman Khan, Dr. Firoz Mahmood, and the people behind the screen. You know the time is very limited, so I will deliver my paper in a precise form, not in details. This article, there is an attempt